Good morning. Good morning. How you doing? How's everybody doing? Good, good, good. Hello, and my name is Doug Moore. I am your motivational speaker for this morning. Let me tell you a little about what's going on in my life. I am thrice divorced, living on a steady diet of government cheese, and I live in a van down by the river. And if you're born in the 90s, not if you're born, if you're alive in the 90s, then you might know who I really am. You might have heard of me before. Okay, okay. I don't think I can keep this up the whole time. Good, good. Okay. Wow, my parents are going to be so proud. That's all I know. They are. They're proud of me. We are going to have some couple of really good guests this morning. And so let's bring them on in. We got, first of all, from 33 Sticks, Principal Architect Jenn Kunz. Jenn, come on in. How you doing? There she is. Jenn, looks like you haven't been eating much lately. I think you've got a problem there.
October's been just too busy of a month for it. Got to prioritize.
Nice, nice. Okay. Well, welcome to our Halloween show. Here we are. And brought to you by experienceleague.adobe.com. Brought to you by experienceleague.adobe.com. Next guest, we also have a principal enterprise architect. Sorry, Jenn, he's went up on
He
you.
went
He's
up to
not
me.
just, yeah, principal enterprise architect Adam Klintworth. Adam, come on in.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Wrong. I can't do the Jarvis. I can't do the Jarvis. No, I can't.
Such
I'm
an
going to
angry
offend,
looking
I'm
Iron
going
Man.
to offend a nation if I try to do an English accent. And I guess I will not do that
You don't
today.
want to mess with that Iron Man either. He looks angry.
It is
Angry
he sounds
eyebrows.
that's an
angry.
angry Iron Man.
I will say this is insanely claustrophobic right now. Like this is this is not fun after a few minutes. I don't know how he did it. I couldn't do this. It's terrible.
Okay, everybody come on out and let's
You need
actually
Adam's stunt double to be in
see
there.
yeah, the stunt double. Bring in the stunt double. Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. Tiny, you go back in the chair back there. That's good.
I wish I had Stark Tech. I have the whole Adobe Experience Cloud at my disposal, but in my personal life, I just have Atom Tech, which is
no, no tech.
not Stark Tech. No.
Yeah, not Stark Tech.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
well, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on today. Glad to have you guys on. I'm excited to have you guys on. The dream team here, and uh, and so let's have you guys introduce yourselves a little bit. Jenn, we'll start with you. Tell us about your day to day, what you do, all that. Plug 33 Sticks, all that good stuff.
Sure. So I'm with an agency, 33 Sticks, an old boutique agency that kind of exclusively works with analytics and optimization and data projects. I'm basically an implementation consultant. I have been since the Omniture days, um, helping people figure out what data they want to collect and then set up whatever they need to do implementation wise to get that data. Um, so day to day tech specs and tag managers and data layers and all that fun stuff.
Nice, nice, very good. Okay, okay, Adam. I know that you're not just a principal architect, but rather a principal enterprise architect. Tell us tell us
I
about
can
your
only
day to day.
aspire.
Yeah, once
You
look, Jen,
know,
if you work
you
hard
know.
enough, if you work hard enough, then you can be like Adam. All right.
Oh boy. Yeah, so as Doug mentioned, I'm a principal enterprise architect. So I've been with Adobe. It'll be 9 years in December, which is it's the time has just flown by. Um, Started out as an analytics consultant. These days, I am working more with kind of large scale deployments of the Adobe Experience Platform or AEP, as I'm sure a lot of folks have heard of it. That is what I am kind of specializing in, getting that whole thing off the ground as it evolves almost on a daily basis right now. So that's what I've been doing.
Nice. Awesome. Well, cool. Let's have a quick get to know you question. And a lot of times I give a different one per guest, but I'm going to give you the same one today. And that is, what is the I don't know what to say. Favorite. You can go with favorite, craziest. You can go with most regrettable haircut. But let's hear about your haircut story. Let's see, Jen. Let's start with you again.
Well, I've had this haircut for years and years now, though the top just keeps getting longer. I have too much hair is the problem.
Too much hair.
I
That's
cut
my
off,
problem.
I
Let me
shave the
bring
sides.
let me bring this up a little bit. So I have too much hair. Okay, sorry. So you got the you got the
no.
you got the
You've been
sides.
in trouble for that before, Doug. I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have too much hair. So I've shaved the sides down for forever, and I've just been letting the top get longer and longer. Right now it's all
Nice.
wet in my attempt. I showered to try to keep it under control. Because if I don't, then it kind of goes like Hermione from the first year of Harry Potter. It just
There it is.
big. There's
There
just
it
a
is.
lot of it. So
Well, you did I really would have liked to have seen that one this morning. I don't know why you didn't go with year one Hermione
if
for
I
your.
if I got a hair blow dryer out, then I could be scarier than the skeleton back there and just attack you with hair.
If I would have known this ahead of time, I would have demanded it.
But
Oh,
as far as worst haircut,
okay.
I think in 7th or 8th grade, I got. There's no other description for it other than this was around the time of Titanic, and it was definitely Leonardo DiCaprio's haircut from Titanic.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
shorter. It was a bad
Yeah.
look.
Yes.
That's good, right? I mean, you look back at some of those kid pictures and you're like, you have to wonder about what your mother and father were thinking.
Right.
You're like, come on.
Yeah.
Were you trying to get me killed in school? You're trying to get me beat up.
That's right. I can't give them that hard a time because I have pictures of when I was giving my son a haircut, and there's a whole period of his life where I can't look at pictures of him when he was a toddler because the bangs are just so bad.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I figured
Yeah.
he wasn't old enough to care, so I might as well practice haircuts.
There it is. That's what it is.
We've all
That's
been
what
there.
the parents think. Yeah, that's right. In fact, hey, Adam, before we get to your haircut, we'd like to welcome everybody in the chat pod. We're excited that you're here with us, and we would love to hear your craziest haircut. Pop that right in there. I want to see some. Look, I had the super mullet. Now, this was no trailer mullet. This was full-on Bon Jovi mullet. And I had it too long, like into the 90s. I was hanging on to that mullet.
Wow.
But but I had that going.
Mullets
so
are coming back, by the
Yeah,
way.
I mean,
Like,
some
my,
people would
my
think.
son's lacrosse team, that one
Yeah.
of the boys is named Mullet Man now. Like that's his nickname. And I'm like, that's
Some-
mean. Don't call him that. And they're like, no, that's the nickname he chose for
Cool.
himself. I'm like,
Yeah,
Cool
that's
thing, though.
right. Yeah, no,
Not sure
I mean,
how I
some
feel
people would
about that.
think, that would be my most regrettable haircut. No, it's my one of my most proudest haircuts. Okay, Adam, let's hear. What do you got? What do you got for hair?
Oh boy, man. I mean, so in keeping with your theme of being alive in the 90s,
Hmm.
that was a time of just horrible hair experimentation. I remember, bowl cuts and like a
Sure.
rat tail, and I
Okay.
think the
I always
worst
hated rat
was
tails.
I got two. The absolute worst was in the mid 90s. If any of y'all were alive in the 90s, you probably watched the shows, My So-Called Life, I think it was called. And so yeah, the Jared Leto guy, and he's all cool now, but he used to be on that show and he had the long hair and the flannel, and I was like, oh, I want to be that guy. That's awesome. I want to be a grunge, cool looking guy. So I grew my hair out, but it didn't
Here we
layer.
go.
It didn't layer and feather like Jared Leto's. It just went straight down.
It went more Kurt
And-
Cobain.
Not even that cool, like just like straight down, one color, just awful. The hair didn't do anything, so it
I
had
thought
to
you
go.
guys kind of had the Jennifer Aniston Jennifer Aniston
I-
going. Yeah.
I wish I would have had that kind of like depth and bounce, but I did not. It was awful, and my mom has freshman year pictures of me still, and it is a train wreck of epic proportions. The close second was in college. I frosted my tips blonde, and that was dumb. 'Cause why?
At
Why
least
did we
everyone
do
else
that?
was dumb in that way,
Was I in a boy band? No, I'm just me. Stupid.
That's awesome. All right. Well, as you can tell, I've got two good guests, and if you don't listen to these guys, I think you're not going to amount to jack squat. I had to get in one more. I'm sorry.
I love it.
That's good.
Okay. That might be, I may have reached the quota on that, so I don't know.
I
It
think you
sounds
got.
rough on the voice.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you have one left in you.
Okay,
Just let's.
Gollum juice or something.
I'll
Yeah,
find it
yeah.
somewhere along the way. I'll find it somewhere. It'll be a little Easter egg for you there.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's get into our topic today, and so we've got kind of a who clicked that and what they did after that. So today we're going to talk about clicks. We're going to talk about some click map stuff. Jen's going to show us some awesome stuff with
Activity
that.
map.
Oh
Activity
my
map.
gosh. I'm going to have
We
to
knew
edit
it was
that
going to
out.
happen at least
I'm going to have
once.
to edit it out. Okay. I've been here too long. That's right. Activity map. And
We knew it was going to happen. We called it.
look, I just had to get it out of the way.
Sure.
Activity
so click
map.
maps, before activity map, there was click map.
Yeah, that's right. So activity map, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about some other attribution stuff, kind of a generalized clicks and attribution. Adam is going to get into some mobile attribution for us, so that is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's dive in. So Jenn, you want to kind of tell us or introduce here what you're going to show us, and I'm going to go ahead and switch over to your screen here. There we go.
All right. And now you can see the skeleton still back there.
Oh yeah.
All right. So yeah, I'm going to talk about activity map. I'll be honest, and this is actually, I'm reusing a tip from 2019's Rockstar Summit session. But to be fair, Eric Matisoff also used a tip from that same session, actually the tip that beat mine. Plus it was 2019 before 2020, therefore a different lifetime. So I don't feel bad about redoing it. In truth,
fair.
it's come back up a couple times recently for clients where
good.
this use case has been valuable. So it was top of mind again. So yeah, let's talk about Activity Map. Activity Map is a great tool that's kind of built into your analytics. You do have to turn it on, so you can do that in your report suite settings down here. Just click the enabled button. You also have to make sure you have the Activity Map module in your app measurement code, but these days it's pretty much always there anyway, so that's not too hard to do. And when you have that, there's a extension you can add to Chrome. I think there's also a Firefox version and so forth. That shows you a heat map of where folks are clicking on your site, which is really handy. Now, I'm not getting a lot of clicks, probably because I haven't updated my blog since 2019. But it shows me not only where people are clicking, but if I had a conversion point later on, like a purchase, then I could bring that in and it would show me how these links contributed to those later purchases and stuff. So all in all, very handy, very out of the box, doesn't really require much implementation. What I
And
want
then
to
you
talk
had that.
about,
Sorry, show us which one up there has the which extension is it that brings that up then?
Yes. So
Okay.
here's the Adobe Platform Debugger.
Yeah.
This one's really useful. Resource override, highly recommended. And activity map up here.
Okay, cool.
And I will say that you're probably the number one is probably because of me. I'm always in the beacon parser tool all day, every day.
Nice.
It is being redone. If there were more hours in the day, very soon there will be a new version that fixes some of those bugs and has new features and stuff. But we're not plugging that. That's not what. Okay. I promise I'm only using my blog because it is the thing I have access to that has data. I'm not.
Okay, hang on. Here's I'm going to do this right now. So how to enable it? We have somebody that gets a data request error. Not to derail us a little, but we want to make sure that our awesome that Mr. or Ms. Anonymous can help us see where that is. Yeah, thank you. So.
Yeah, it's in here. And then I probably should have had some app measurement code open as well, but it's just a module that's pretty much always included with app measurement. You have to make sure
a little snippet of JavaScript in your app measurement file.
Yeah.
And if you don't seem to have that, then probably contact either consulting or tech support or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it like in launch, it's usually there out of the box kind of. So to our
Okay.
credit, so we said click map earlier, but we didn't say S code just now. That was the other one I was worried about.
Yeah, no, don't say
Measurement
that.
code.
Oh,
Oh
There
boy.
we go.
nostalgia.
Oh
All
no.
right. So yeah, that enables activity map. I'll admit I don't use the heat map of it very much, but all of this data is automatically collected and it does show up in your report suite. There's these lovely activity map. That's the raw data that helps make that heat map possible. And you can use this in reports. Sometimes people want to build a segment or show flow and all of that. So how activity map works is anytime I click on a thing, either if there's a beacon that fires on that click, then the activity map info will go with it. Otherwise, it'll go on whatever beacon happens next, usually the next landing page. And let's see here. So it's context data, and so it's within this C dot, and then it's within the A dot, meaning it's Adobe's context data, and it captures the page that I have control over. It's just the page name on the page where the thing was clicked, the link, which is the text within the anchor tag of the thing that was clicked, and then this region. And I'm going to talk about that region because that's the main problem. The region report is ugly, unless your developers use IDs beautifully and had analytics in mind when they decided on how to do IDs in their HTML. So let's say I would love to see how folks are clicking on my nav bar. That's a really common use case. I can't do that currently. So typically, if I had a report like this where I didn't have any control of the data coming in, but it's ugly and I want to group it differently, I would use classifications. But we can't classify activity map region because it's kind of this out-of-the-box variable we don't have access to. Let's talk real fast about why those are so ugly, though. The way that activity map works is, it's all squished because my screen's small. Anytime you click on a link, if it's an anchor tag, activity map will automatically pick it up. It'll, like we saw, it'll grab the page you're on, it'll grab the inner text of what was clicked, and then it will travel up your DOM to the first thing that has an ID. I don't even know what an aside is. That's weird. This is all automatic WordPress stuff. So that's where it was getting that recent posts value, was from that happens to be the first item that had an ID in it. Now we do have some control over that. If we really wanted, that wasn't working on our site, we can ask our developers to add s_object IDs to the elements that matter a lot to us. We can also redefine which attribute is used for region. So I could say instead of IDs, use classes, which would be really, really dangerous because classes are all over the place and might not give you the level of specificity that you want. Or if you wanted to have your developers just tell them, hey, use this new attribute in all of your HTML that's data/link or -link or something like that. But let's say that it's the real world and the developers aren't going to make any changes for us and we just have to work with what we got.
What?
That's how it goes. So what we would do is let's try to build classifications.
So glass half empty. Okay, no,
I'm jaded.
Okay.
I've been doing this way too long. So what I ended up doing was I did this with both region and link, but region tends to be the more important one. You can do it with an evar or a prop. I use evars because I have evars to spare because it's a blog website. So I set that up and then I set up a processing rule that's going to grab that context data. And it's already in here. If you're receiving activity map data, it'll be at the bottom of your list under context data variable or context variables. And you just, I knew I was going to do that. Activity map region. Save that processing rule.
Okay, so you are just saying, like as you can see there, overwrite the value. You're just copying that activity map region into an available evar. Got it.
Right. And thus far, this is not valuable in any way because these are just going to be duplicate reports. So that alone isn't the cool part. So once I've done that, I can create, dang it, all of these pages reloaded because Adobe likes to sign me in and out of things sometimes. So yeah, I would build a classification off of that activity map region.
Right. And so, sorry, I'm going to be...
No, please.
Explaining myself here along, making sure that I get it, but you can't actually create a classification on the activity map.
Correct.
Context data, right? That's why you copied it into an evar.
Correct.
Got
I mean,
it.
if maybe you can, but I have not found the way. So
Okay.
this is what I've done instead.
Okay.
So I created a classification. I named it navigation region. It could be friendly activity map region. Doesn't really
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
In the end, I may even hide this one from view because it's just a redundant copy of the existing activity map region. It's the classification that's important.
Yeah.
So I would set that up, and then I would go into Rule Builder and build some rules around how I want this defined. And this part, I know this is where folks tune out and say, that looks like a lot of work, and I don't like regex, and this no longer looks like a fast, easy tip. Jen, what are you doing? So yes, I will say this is not a snap instant, it happens, but it's probably a lot less work than you'd think it is. And I'm going to show you some tips to make it really easy. But if nothing else, what I'd recommend, if you take anything away, grab an available prop and do this part, because classifications are one of the few things in Adobe that are gloriously retroactive. So you can decide in a year that this is something that's valuable to you now, and you can set up your classifications and that'll work. Whereas this isn't retroactive. It'll only start capturing once you set up that processing rule. So you can do it now and then decide later to do this. But yeah, as far as creating this, it's not as hard as you might think. So let's go back here and I'll show you how I did that. Let's say all of these menu items I see showing up everywhere. I don't know what they are. That ID doesn't have much meaning to me. So first I need to figure out what page that's happening on. So I'm going to bring page over here.
Break it down by page.
And it doesn't work. And there's a couple reasons. The first is with activity map, frequently the variable, the information that...
Sorry, when things are weird like that, then, our kids
What was that?
react. Our kids react to it.
You
didn't know I have a little audience
was.
right down here on the other
boy.
side of the van.
Were they, I just couldn't tell what the sound, were they...
Oh, sorry, they were going...
like they were vomiting or something.
Ooh.
I heard like, I don't know what that was.
That was startling. That was startling.
Sorry, easily
right,
distracted here.
Sorry.
All right, so on this page, this is the page on which the activity map data came through, but the page that I care about is actually the page where the click happened, so it's the previous page. So that's reason number one, I wouldn't bring page in. Reason number two is a lot of this activity map data comes in on custom link beacons or exit link or download links, non-page view beacons.
Yeah. And
the page variable won't work for those, and I'm going to talk about that. That's actually tip number two. But for now, instead of that, I'm going to do activity map page because I know that tells me this is the page on which the thing was clicked. And sure enough, it seems like they're all on my blog. So this isn't a beacon parser thing. It's not coming out of a mobile app or something. So let's go over to the blog and see if we can find it. So I'm going to open up my developer console, which to me, the easiest way is usually right click on a thing and click inspect. And don't be daunted because there's only one line of code you need to know to do this. And that's document.getElementById with a lowercase d. That often gets
we're not seeing it here quite on the screen.
Oh, is it too low?
That I can see, but it might be a little bit low. So there we go. Perfect. Document.getElementById. Okay, got it.
So that's the only code I need to know. And then I can grab this menu item 82 and put that over here. Oh. And that's going to show me anything that matches that ID. Ideally, only one thing per ID, but sometimes developers don't follow best practices. And I can hover over that, and now you can see it showing me where on the page a thing with that ID is.
Got it.
So there we go. I have a nice visual even that shows me that this thing was actually in my nav bar. And you know what? I would bet that 81 is there. So ta-da! I now know that these menu item things, those are my nav bar. And I could go over here to my rule builder and just say, if it starts with menu item, it's my blog nav bar. Nice. And this actually helps me in a couple of ways. One, I don't have the ugly, I don't know what it is menu item. I now have a nice friendly, I know what blog nav bar means. But it also lets me collapse some of these together because right now, the way that the IDs, that WordPress made my IDs on my site is these now have a 1-to-1 ratio with their region, which doesn't give me any extra information. It's link and region are pretty much the same, but this lets me collapse them together so that they're not going to all be separate line items. And like this, nope, ta-da, blog nav bar, all of my nice links in there, and I now have a nav report without having done any extra implementation. I don't have to do it for all of my regions. I can do just low-hanging fruit, the ones that matter to me at the moment.
Yeah.
And ta-da! I have a much prettier report, and I can even let's bring the original region over.
Yeah.
And you can see these are all of the things that became blog navbar.
Oh, got it. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there you go. Much easier, no extra implementation. Just uses a prop. You can also do this for link report. It follows the exact same process, so I'm not going to go through that. Most of the time, it's not as necessary because the information within your anchor tag, like the actual link name, is what the user sees, so it should be friendlier. In some case, it's still ugly, and maybe you want to clean it up. So that's also an option, but region tends to be the more important.
Yeah. So a couple of things here, maybe to reiterate. I know they already said it, but I'm going to say it again. That is that remember that the classifications part is retroactive, right? So so you don't actually, you can go back and say, oh, let me classify stuff that happened that got clicked on last month or whatever. But what is not
so long
retroactive,
as the data exists.
Yeah, if the data's there, right? So so therefore it's really important that you get those you get the processing rules set up right away so that those activity link regions, that's what it was, right, can get copied over to an EVAR so that we can classify it whenever we want. So yeah, make sure that you get that set up right away. And
exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing, processing rules, if you have to be an admin in analytics in order to use them. So just make sure that you have that privilege. The other thing is, and I mean, if you've ever worked with any type of analytics consultant, you probably have heard them say that processing rules are insanely dangerous because they can wipe out data in an instant. So if you
used to have to take a test before they gave you access
that
to
is
it.
True. I remember that.
I failed. This is a trust tree. I did. I mean, I'm a principal enterprise architect now, but yeah, my first week at Adobe, I actually failed the test. I went in very cocky, thought I knew what I was doing, and
it wasn't easy. It was a harder test.
It was
it's similar to the certification tests, kind of.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
There's a lot of tricky questions, but yeah. So if you are unsure about using processing rules, make sure that you reach out to an admin in your organization, or if you're working with a consultant, you can ask them to do this, and they should be able to hook you up.
Yeah, danger, Will Robinson.
Okay. So that was tip number 1, but I promised I would come back to this whole page issue of any information that's sent in on a non-page view beacon, you can't break down by page.
Yeah. Let me do one more.
Oh, sure.
Go back to the reports. And I want to reiterate that right now you've got activity map region instances in there, but obviously, as we learned if you've seen the commercial, right? The click commercial from Adobe, click, the baby click and the clicks and stuff like that. Anyway, I don't know if you guys look for that on YouTube. I'm sure it's still there. The commercial from Adobe about clicks. That we don't really care about clicks, right? We want to know if they're using it. So clicks are important sometimes, but the real goal is typically, whatever the other conversion metrics are on your page, and so you can obviously add those here to the report as well, right? So that you can.
And I wish I had more exciting conversion metrics.
Yeah, exactly.
For you, but
so you can just add those conversion metrics to these same reports, so you can see how that resulted.
Just being aware of the fact that whatever is in here, even if it's classified, that it may have come in on the following hit. So it can be a little bit tricky like that. Sometimes, for me, the easiest thing is to use a segment to say, they did this at some point in their journey, or a then type of segment sort of thing.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about. I'll use this use case of, I want to know the 33 Sticks blog. We're redoing it right now to make sure all of the stuff on it is accurate. A lot of those posts are like 6 years old, and we don't want to have super old documentation that's misleading floating around. So I probably shouldn't be linking people to the now on a hiatus blog. Fortunately, I do fire beacons when I send people off there. Sorry, I know folks are probably used to seeing the much prettier broken up beacons than this, but for the sake of showing exactly its relationship to the page. All right, so I'm firing a beacon. It tells me what the link was, and event 10 is my outbound link event. So those are firing, and page names even in the beacon is just not going to be used at all. Adobe throws it out. If it's not a page view beacon, it completely disregards the fact that page name was sent in with it. And this is something lots of consultants and everyone can tell you since the beginning of time. There's been frustration, and a lot of folks, as a workaround, will have an extra variable, either an evar or a prop, that they set alongside page name on every single one of their pages, because then they can control whether or not it also applies on custom link beacons. So that's the common workaround, but I want to show you something that will work without doing that doesn't require extra implementation. Because a lot of folks either haven't already done that, or they have and maybe link track vars is a jerk and keeps page name or keeps that variable from showing up on certain beacons, or you want to free up one of those variables. So instead of setting aside a variable for page, let's see here, I can see here's a category blog. I want to know what page it is. Page isn't working. Instead of that, it's actually really simple, and I feel dumb that I didn't know it sooner. And maybe people on this call will be like, yeah, Jen, attribution, silly. Because I use attribution in Workspace all the time. It's a very wonderful feature. But I never thought to apply it to this use case to get me around the fact that page information sometimes isn't usable on custom link data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and this might be why I didn't think of it, because this is such a defaulty attribution model. It's just last touch, 30 days, 1 day, it doesn't matter. It's the most recent beacon, so we don't need a long look back window. And ta-da! I can now see this is the page that was hit most recently, last touch, before this link click happened. So it's just another use case for attribution, which I've always used, but just never thought to use this way. And better yet, if I know this is something I'm going to do more, I can create a calculated metric from it, and it's going to automatically carry over that attribution. So I don't have to reset it up and teach people how to change default attribution and stuff. So I've already done that, so I'm not going to save it. And it should have the exact same info as that does, and it does. So like that, I now have a metric. And this is the thing that took me a while with Workspace to wrap my head around, that the attribution and allocation settings on evars that you used to have to set up on a per evar basis in the admin console don't matter as much as they used to. I don't want to say they don't matter at all, but I can now decide on a per metric basis while building a report what attribution I want to use for it. And there's all sorts, I should do it here, all sorts of options here as far as what the non-default. They've even got fun stuff that you never were able to say, I want my evar to have U-shaped attribution. Now you can.
Yeah.
So, and I can have the same metric like 8 times in a report, just different attribution for each and tell a slightly different story. So let's follow my use case through a little bit more here and say, I'm just looking at, I already created a segment that says, just show me the hits that are pointing to that blog. Come on. All right, so there's really just these 3 I'm worried about for the month of September. This one, which I just made work by having my new thing, and then these other 2. So down here, it doesn't work. All I have to do is drag my new metric. And by the way, right now I'm holding the command key down, or control if I were on a PC, so I can just pick up any metric or variable and pull it into a new report. Handy little keyboard shortcut.
Nice.
And
is
I
that
now
an option
know.
drag? Wait, is that an option drag or a command drag?
It's control. It's command or control,
okay.
depending on PC or Mac.
Okay. Sorry.
And there you go. I can now tell you these are the 3 pages I need to go in and correct links that point to dead things. And I didn't have to change anything implementation-wise, and just took advantage of that built-in attribution.
Nice.
Ta-da.
I think my Chris Farley voice is coming back to haunt me. So.
It was worth it.
Okay, yeah.
Sure was.
Okay. No, that is great. I mean, because obviously people, have been really suggesting and worried about, making sure that they get that page name variable copied over into like an EVAR.
Yeah, which makes it
For
confusing because
attribution.
then you have 2 pages reports and folks often don't know which one to use or why they're different.
Yeah.
So here's a way. I will say there are some use cases where you still might want that.
Yeah.
Data warehouse, for instance, like places where you can't do this fancy custom attribution, you can still take advantage of. So here's my data warehouse report. If I were to go solely off of that event, I'd see 0 for reasons previously described, that they're not, it doesn't put page name with the link. I can use a participation event. So this event 10 had participation enabled on it, and I can still bring that in, and it gives me some of that information. So not a perfect,
Nice.
suits all of your needs situation, but especially, on the fly, it's a good backup option.
Nice. Well, thank you, Jenn. We will move over to Adam for your stuff here. Let me move you over here. Here we go. So you're going to tell us a little bit about this, and you're going to tell us a little bit and then show us some, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Can everyone? Is my
awesome.
screen visible?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So I have to admit, this is also a tip from a year or two ago. But the reason that I'm bringing it up, I was excited to bring it back up because I was recently working with a customer in financial services, and they have spent years and time and money on all things web-based acquisition. And then we were talking about push messaging one day, and trying, they wanted to start tracking push messages. And I asked the simple question, well, how many people access your mobile app from push messages? Keep in mind, this is post-pandemic. All of their branches are closed. They're using a lot of customers using the mobile app for a majority of their needs. And they replied, we don't know. And I was like, wow, what a missed opportunity. That's crazy. So even in this day and age, there are opportunities, and I still see it as a major gap between kind of your traditional web acquisition channels like social media, paid, or natural search, paid search, all of those, but then mobile app. And so we talk about mobile app acquisition. Really, it's any method that's used to drive users to your mobile app, whether they are new customers or existing customers. And really, it falls into 2 categories. It's in acquisition, right? So mobile app users, or it could be customers who just don't have your app installed on their device just yet, and you're trying to get them to install the app or apps. And then retention. And retention is the one that I'm going to focus a little bit more on today. Those are really customers who have your mobile app installed on their device, and you're trying to figure out how, based on methods of getting them back into the app, which methods are successful, which methods are not successful. And so really the methods for capturing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about those in a minute, are app download campaigns and universal links. That's in red. I will talk about that in a second. Those are normally your acquisition. Email, SMS, push messaging, those are typically ones that are used in retention. So you already have them, they've already installed the app. Now you're just trying to get them back into the app to do something else so you can measure that success. And then universal links, or deep links, you could call them that, those also show up in retention. So the difference in those is basically universal links from an acquisition perspective is if you tap on a link somewhere on a website from a mobile device, and it automatically takes you to the App Store to download or install a mobile app. So they work really well from an acquisition perspective. But then from a retention perspective, the example that I always give is we've all used Amazon on a mobile device. So essentially, I'm searching Google for coffee syrup. I was doing that this morning, and I get a link on Amazon, tap the link, automatically opens the Amazon app. That's also a great indicator and a great opportunity to capture that acquisition for an existing customer who already has your mobile app. So if we get into kind of the basics of how you collect data from an acquisition standpoint, a lot of you, if you've been using the Adobe Analytics and Adobe Mobile Services, you'll know that Adobe has long provided this acquisition link functionality. Keep in mind,
Is
that
that
is going to
being
be,
deprecated?
it
I
is
didn't know
being that
that. To be
we,
honest, I thought it already was,
yeah,
and I
well,
missed it because it's
we were supposed to, and then this thing called COVID showed up, and we had to push it out a little bit. So I have received word that it's been deprecated for a long time. So if you're a new customer to Adobe, you weren't able to use mobile services. And mobile services, just for you that don't know, was a suite of push messaging, location tracking, and acquisition link capability. If you're a new customer to Adobe, as of the last couple of years, you weren't even able to use it. But if you have kind of hung around and you're still using it, just know that that is going to be deprecated sometime starting early next year. So keep that in mind. I believe that means that all of those services are going to be turned off. The
well,
reason we're
and
doing,
in most
go ahead.
cases, those the functionality has gone on to other Adobe tools other than this acquisition bit,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. So yeah, we have Adobe Campaign now for push messaging, location services. We have our very own core service called Places now. But yeah, Jen, to your point, we admittedly we were just never really good at acquisition links, and we always were way behind the rest of the industry. So now we're recommending that customers who are really want to get into acquisition tracking from like a new customer perspective, use one of the tried and true providers like AppsFlyer, Branch. Those are two that we have an actual integration with from an Adobe perspective. But honestly, there's so many out there. Coachava is another good one. There's so many out there that you can use. I will say that those services may get a little tricky with the ever increasing privacy and consent policies that are coming down the pike. So, GDPR, CCPA, rejection of third-party cookies and device-based identifiers. Just when you start to look at those, you may want to start asking questions on how they're going to bridge that gap for privacy and consent.
Yeah, good to consider.
Absolutely. And then retention really depends on your email push SMS provider if you have an in-house kind of service. And then really it's just, it comes down to your organization's deep linking and universal linking strategy. Coming back to this customer that I was working with, I'd realized that they had a very robust push messaging suite of campaigns that they were running. It's just that they weren't tracking any of them. So they didn't know how many people were coming into the mobile app from a push message. And then, more importantly, what were they doing? So we can understand and analyze, get those insights, and then figure out how we activate back to them again, knowing full well that they came to the app from a push message. So, and this is going to be a little technical. We could spend an entire hour
Let's
talking.
spend an entire 15 seconds on this and then show people.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. So, and from a technical perspective, just know that regardless of the version of the mobile SDK, or if you're using something like Telium and Citon, if you're using hard-coded beacons in your mobile app, just know that what we need you to do is to add in a specific context data variable as the app is launching, because we want to associate that with a launch or an install success event. So you can see here that we have this mobile app campaign. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Now, this was specific to a customer that I was working with. Just know that the format is important to match your web campaign taxonomy. Really, that is because you really want to be able to use the same classifications, the same marketing channel rules. So however you have your web campaign set up your mobile campaigns the exact same way. Okay, and then as we get into processing rules, this is where I'm going to jump over. And I am going to show you guys, I'll zoom in just a little bit here. If we go into Adobe Analytics, I'm sorry?
Dark mode.
Oh yeah.
Dark
mode. It's a new hip feature. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm still losing my eyesight, but dark mode. It's cool. So if we go into Adobe Analytics in the admin console and then under processing rules for a given report suite, you can see in this report suite, I believe I have a blank canvas. I haven't done anything with this one in quite some time. So I'm going to add a rule. And so the way that you want to do this is you'll just name your mobile campaign rule. Your condition is probably the most important thing. So you want to go and whatever you name that context data variable. In this case, I believe it was mobile campaign ID. So let's just use mobile campaign ID. Now, as Jenn said in her segment, a lot of times these variables will lazy load as you start to add them into data collection. This is a brand new one, so all you have to do is just type it in as it is in the in your data collection code, and then click add. It's gonna show up as red, which will freak a lot of people out. Don't worry, that just means, oh, I'm new to the game. And
Yeah, you
then
just haven't gotten any data for that
yeah,
yet.
so don't worry that that's wrong. We're not doing you any favors by saying no, it's okay. It's just it's expected. And then just merely say that mobile campaign ID is set. The other one that I would recommend, it's not a requirement, but especially if you're on the SDK, there is a context data variable that's passed called a.appid. That really just is indicating what version of the mobile app or the identifier of the mobile app, but it's the one thing, it's a key that gets set on every single hit from the SDK. So the combination of both of these basically ensures that you know that this hit is coming from your mobile app, just in case.
That's funny. I use that app ID as well, and now I'm trying to remember, is it something Adam taught me to do? But that's a good flag that this is a hit from the mobile SDK.
And that's just
app ID set.
That's just a good one for anything mobile app you're doing in general. Especially if you're in a global report suite where you have mobile data and web data together, the presence of this will ensure that whatever context data variable you're bringing in or you're considering in your condition is absolutely 100% coming from your mobile app. So it's just a nice fail-safe.
And that's
so you have that all there.
Workspace too. That app ID is available as a dimension in Workspace, and you can use that wherever you want.
100%. You can use it for segmentation. Exactly. It is an unsung hero of the SDK. Like it's not very good for analysis, but as a segmentation or a fail-safe, oh my gosh, so good. And then once you have your condition set, all you're going to do is you're going to overwrite the value of campaign. This is your campaign tracking code report, and then just go to mobile campaign ID. And then once you save that up, anytime that you're sending in a mobile campaign, a context data variable of mobile campaign ID, that is going to set it into your tracking codes report. And so it's from a collection perspective, obviously getting the actual context data variable in your mobile app takes a little bit of work from either a technical consultant or your IT staff. But once you get in there, it's pretty straightforward. And then if we hop back over into the presentation, the next step really, and the final step, is really updating marketing channels. And this is the one where I'm super passionate about this because it really depends on your report suite configuration. Now, if you've ever worked with me before, I've probably harped on you for saying all your data should be in one report suite. You should have mobile and web in one report suite. There's no reason to not have it unless your SDRs are just completely.
There used to be reasons, disparate. But like
there was,
as of 2015 or so, we all realized this was the better way to go. Yeah,
it's all got to be in one. There are edge cases, but seriously, like they should be in the same report suite. So if you have an individual mobile report suite, this becomes very, very easy and kind of useless. It's really in the context of a global report suite where the value of this comes in, because you're really going to start to shuffle the order of your global report suite marketing channels, which up until this point have probably been all web-based. But now you're going to mix it up a little bit. You're going to be a little bit of a disruptor because you're adding in all of these mobile app campaigns. And that really depends on your mobile app volume, your campaign frequency, as well as your organizational goals around mobile. And you might be surprised by the volume that you're bringing in. I know, for example, this FSI customer that I was working with, financial services, they were shocked when we implemented this because a massive amount of their traffic is now going to their mobile app now, especially for existing customers. And they have this whole other push channel that they're able to understand, get insights from, and then more importantly, understand how to activate and how to communicate back to those customers, because they know they are responding more to certain push messages than others. And so there's a
So
lot of things that, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
if I don't do this, if I don't do anything with my marketing channels, mobile shows up as direct?
Mobile
Like, or is it just a gap? It doesn't show up in marketing channels at all.
it typically will show up as direct, especially if you have it in global report suites, because there is going to be no refer there. Everything will just be in direct, which, I mean, if you're not doing anything in terms of, well, if you're not doing anything in terms of mobile app campaign, first off, shame on you. You have to, because it's 2021. We got to do this. But second of all, you are probably missing out on a massive opportunity to really understand not just how you're attracting new customers, but also enticing and encouraging existing customers to keep going back into your mobile app for, maybe mobile app specific content or promotions or anything like that. It's a whole other world of insights, as well as potential revenue and optimization, activation, conversion that you're probably missing out on if you're not doing this in this type of context. So it's been an eye opener for so many customers, and if you're not doing it today, I would absolutely recommend and encourage that you start looking into how you can either start on this path or up level and think about all of the different ways that that you are bringing people in. This is just an example from another customer, and you can see this is not from that FSI customer, but this is another retail customer, and you can see that they've already added one rule that identifies a push mobile channel from their global report suite. So it's
So
it's big.
Is it recommended? Do you recommend that you push this one pretty high? I mean, because mobile, when you have those things set up,
Yeah.
then mobile is gonna. I mean, other ones are not gonna fall in there. But I'm afraid that
100%.
might,
Yeah.
might accidentally go in the wrong one above that.
Exactly, and it really, so you really have to make sure, and that's where having your that kind of uniqueness of that context data variable, as well as if we go back to the slide, you'll see that where we have this source parameter, I was prefixing it with MOB for mobile. So an example for push would be MOB_PM. Now, what we would do is we would just make sure that you had a very unique prefix for any of your mobile app campaigns. And that way, regardless of where it falls in this waterfall, it's going to get the right credit. But because it is a waterfall, it really depends on how much mobile acquisition efforts do you do today? How many are you going to do in the future? And how big is your mobile app volume? If you're just starting out, or you have a very small portion of your population using your mobile apps, maybe you don't push it as high. But for example, this FSI customer that I was working with, it's like number 3 now because they have so much traffic going to mobile app now.
And I assume that it would have everything also to do with, again, the schema that you're using there on the other ones as well, right? So
100%.
So you can't just say, you can't have the first one that just says anything that says, CID goes into my regular campaigns. Yeah, you have to get a little more specific with your web-based campaigns, or push this one higher than those, right? So you have to be careful of how all of those are.
That having the campaign at the very beginning of your campaign ID, that you should do that everywhere, not just mobile, but having
exactly.
very clear this is the channel at the very beginning helps set up these rules a lot.
Exactly.
Having those identifiers is very, very important.
It's
I mean, it's
like
critical.
A tip.
Yeah.
It's like a tip inside of a tip. It's an Inception tip.
It is. We are. Boy, oh boy.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, okay. Yeah. Keep going. Are we?
The end. That's it.
The end. The end. No, keep going. Oh yeah.
Well, the
that
reason
is
I
awesome.
asked about the normally mobile is going to show up as direct is because people don't like. I've seen folks panic when they see their direct be huge. Like it looks like a bunch of their traffic's coming in from direct, and they may or may not realize that just includes mobile as well. So
exactly. And as you're moving from separate report suites to a global report suite, that is going to be one of the consequences, whether it's positive or negative. That's going to be a consequence. You're going to see that direct that direct bucket just explode based on your mobile app volume, most likely it's your mobile app traffic. And so then you have to think about, okay, which of this is actual mobile app direct, like I just tap on the app and just go in because I want to buy something, or was I was I brought there from a push notification with a, with a this month's, sale or campaign or an SMS message or something. And then it gets into, well, how do you consider transactional messages, like maybe SMS transactional, push transactional versus SMS and push promotional. So there's so many things that you get into, like granular details around how you identify and how you stack them in marketing channels. But it is very helpful just to see the full picture of your acquisition landscape.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, we are bumping up against the hour here almost. So let me just say a couple of things. First of all, please, you guys go to Experience League, experienceleague.adobe.com. Go through this tunnel. Whoa.
Yeah.
I did it on purpose. I love that. It's my favorite.
Is that my
through
shared
the tunnel.
screen? Whose shared screen is that?
Yeah. And
it's Inception right here. It's Inception.
Inception, yeah.
There you go.
And come on out to experienceleague.adobe.com. Now, one of the you'll get tutorials and courses and the documentation and also community. And I wanted to just mention that if we didn't answer your question today in the chat, then we'll take a look at that and we'll put it into the community. There'll be a place on community where you can ask questions. So if you're watching this on a replay, then I'll have a link there so that you can ask questions specifically about these tips in the community, and we'll have these guys or others answer those for you, so we don't leave you hanging with some of your questions there. That's number one. Number two is actually we do have right now an opening for a technical marketing engineer. So if you've in Experience League, so I will plug that if you like to create educational material and tutorials and videos and those kinds of things. And, a lot about analytics and, some audience manager and maybe a little platform. Anyway, then go to Adobe and take a look for that technical marketing engineer position. So I'm going to throw that one out there to the gang here. Other than that, I think we have to, of course, go to, wait for it. Yes, unrelated cool tip. We can't leave without unrelated cool tip. So, Jen, you have our unrelated cool tip. Hang on.
All right, I don't know if I'm going to be able to picture this
have our
very well. But
unrelated cool tip for the day.
So this is my surefire way to get rid of hiccups. And I am a weird evangelist
Jen,
for it.
You're going to have plenty of time for hiccups really when you're living in a van down by the river. How about that? Yeah. That was it's my last one. It's my last one.
I'm afraid to oversell it. Like people will be like, you told me it would work and it didn't. But it has always worked every single time for every member of my family. What you do, you have to have a something with a straw. And you plug both ears and drink. I can't do it on the camera. And just have a good solid 5-6 gulps out of your straw while plugging your ears closed.
Plugging your ears.
And there are actual scientific journal articles about this and the fact that it works.
Come on.
And it does. It's something about it resets the pressure, or I don't know, diaphragm. But there's my it works. It's always worked for me. You just have to plug both your ears shut and take a good long
sucking out of the straw.
Water.
Out of the straw. Hey, Dad, I can't see too good. Is that Wendy over there from Wendy's? That was terrible. Sorry. No, okay. I'm gonna try that if I ever get hiccups again.
I want to know now. If
and
it
have
works
a drink.
Other people,
I have to have I have to have some kind of a straw drink available to me. Nice. Well, that is awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate your wisdom. I know we could go a long time trying to suck the wisdom out of your brains and that's a callback to the straw there. But I really appreciate you guys being on the show today. And thanks to everybody.
Fun.
Thanks
Yeah,
to everybody
thanks for
for
having us.
joining us, and appreciate the comments today and everything. So other than that, again, one last plug, come to experienceleague.adobe.com and get all your goodness there. And we'll hope to see you there. And have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks all.
everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.